Africa is a continent rich in culture, tradition, and history. For many years, this knowledge has been passed on through generations. But how much of this knowledge is still being embraced by the young people? In today's episode, this is exactly what we're looking at. Welcome to the 77%. I am Okeri Ngutjinazo. This is the Soul of Africa Museum here in Essen, Germany, and is home to something very special. It houses a collection that focuses on African traditions with a particular focus on Central and West Africa. We're here with Mr. Christoph, who is the founder of the Soul of Africa Museum here in Essen.
This exhibition is called the Voodoo Rainbow. Why rainbow? Because voodoo has different colors, depending on where you are in the world. West Africa, Caribbean, South America, or North America. What do you think voodoo is?
Oh gosh. The first thing that always comes to mind is kind of either rituals or worshipping or sacrifices, if I'm being honest. Because also coming from a Christian background, I always kind of associated voodoo in general with spirituality and also just like ancestry.
Yeah, you're better than most. Most people say zombies and dolls with penis.
Oh no!
But that was a picture that Hollywood created at the time when the Americans occupied Haiti. And the second picture people always have a doll made out of wax stuffed with pins. Used in British witchcraft, still today. But it has nothing to do with voodoo.
Ghana is full of festivals that celebrates its diverse traditions, and now one that the 77% was fortunate to attend was one in the Ashanti Kingdom, which was the inauguration of the Queen Mother in Kumasi. Now the youth are not left out of these traditions. We followed a young artist called Afia, and she showed us how she uses her art to keep the Ashanti culture alive.
Traditional drums and songs echo through Manhyia Palace in Kumasi, the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom. A special moment is unfolding. A new Queen Mother, known as the Asante Hima, is being introduced to the Ashanti people. For centuries, she has been one of the most important figures in the Ashanti Kingdom. Culture is on full display as people gather to witness this historic occasion. Among them is Afia Prempe, a young artist with royal roots.
For somebody like me, as an artist, I'm so interested in our culture and in our tradition because it inspires my artworks a lot. And then gradually, I'm trying to promote Ashanti culture and then tradition to my audience.
Afia uses her art to tell Ashanti stories in a way that resonates with young people. As both a young person and someone with royal heritage, she believes culture and modernity can exist side by side.
I feel so proud even doing this. And then I realized that with time, people connect to it in as much as the old people, gradually, the youth are also aligning with it. And then they enjoy seeing things like this. I mean, they know the stories, they've heard of it, but then when they see it in pictures, it also motivates them. So, I mean, I believe that like this is a calling for me to do it.
Back at the palace, the Asante Hene arrives to honor the new Queen Mother following her appointment. This highlights something deeply important in Ashanti culture, the powerful role women play in leadership and society, and it resonates with young women like Afia.
All the chiefs came here to greet her and then offer her the congratulatory messages. And you know, we are also excited. And then the other queen mothers are also here. You know, she is the main queen mother of the whole Ashanti Kingdom. As a young artist and as a young Ashanti girl, I'm also here to see the tradition going on, learn more about culture as well.
Across Africa, some traditional practices sometimes struggle to connect with younger generations. But here in Manhyia Palace, there is a growing effort to change that perception.
We encourage young people who are from royal families to embrace our culture and avail themselves to serve and not consider our culture and rituals as fetish. If they do it well, it attracts blessings from the ancestors.
And already some young people are embracing the idea.
Personally, I'm very proud of my culture because you go somewhere, that's your identity, and the more you promote your culture, that's how people come to the country and they would want to see more of your culture.
Old aged will be fading out, so we are not going to replace them, or who are those going to take after them? We, the youth ones, that we are going to engage in them. So definitely there is nothing wrong, and then it's I will still encourage and then to get involved in such a traditional and then culture things.
Preserving culture is not just about history. It's about ensuring future generations remain connected to their roots. As celebrations continue at Manhyia Palace, hopefully, more young people will choose to carry the Ashanti spirit forward.
There's always this big question on how to keep culture and tradition alive, whether it is speaking the language, wearing traditional clothing, or keeping the stitchings in schools. Now, places like this museum, for example, they keep telling the stories and also preserving that culture. But it is up to us, you and me, and also to engage with this. Now, in our next report, Edith Kimani asked young Ugandans if African tradition is slowly dying or if it's still being preserved by us.
Hello and welcome back to the 77% Street Debate. This week we are back in Uganda's capital of Kampala. Today we're asking, are African cultures at risk of being erased in the quest for globalization? And who better to answer this question for me than Ugandans? I just want to understand, because not everybody lives in a cultural home. But you have a very different interpretation of it. Tell us a little bit about that.
I've grown up in a home that's very, very traditional. You have to kneel when you greet. You have to kneel when you serve. You have to do certain things the way they are meant to do. Your clothes are supposed to be a certain height. You're supposed to speak your language. You're supposed to, it's so cultural to a point that there are even gender roles attached to men and women because of culture. Culturally, a man is like a god. We see him as he's up there, and so if I'm talking to a man, I'm going to be kneeling. Growing up, I used to see my grandmother refuse to partake of chicken because it's meant for the men. But then growing up, I feel like he's misinformed.
Okay, all right. Before we make this a debate about men versus women, let me come to you, Andrew, because when we were speaking, you made the point that, look, what are we even defending? What culture? Like these laws and rules that we're following, who came up with them? How far back do they go? Tell me a bit about that.
Personally, I believe culture is the way of life. You look at Africa today, what exactly are we trying to preserve? We're having this conversation in English for starters. And one fiber of culture is language. If we are having this conversation in English, if most of us are wearing these garbs, which we do not even know where they came from, not wearing the hides and skins, what are we still trying to defend?
When we talk about culture, it's just the general evolution of a people. Yes. So when you say previous cultures, when does a previous culture end and begin?
Now, the previous culture, I would say, is how they used to behave in the past days. Right now, it's an evolutionary era. The season is, there's an evolution happening right now. So as Africans, we should stop the blame game of the Western culture is influencing us. We have these very resources. We have the internet. We have all these things. How many times will we hear of an African fashion gala, an African fashion show?
Then maybe you're eating your traditional food among your fellow Africans. Maybe you're eating greens. They want you to eat chicken, exotic. They want you to eat chips which they didn't know before. When you bring your greens, Africans be like, what is that? They start mocking you. You see, it's Africans who are contributing to these things. You can be modernized at the same time observing.
Yeah, okay, I like that. All right, so you don't have to choose. Stay traditional, but also stay modern. Some voices at the back here.
The modern world is set in that it works for you quick. If I'm sick, I'll go to the hospital, they're giving me tabs. But way back in the days, my granny would just go to the bush, pick something that would work for him. There's no way I'm going to wake up and go to the bush and pick that, because I have to go to the hospital and do that. Sometimes we even feel like now going back to because I would love to stay in Kampala because Kampala is so good. I have everything. I would go to the cinema. I would get everything I feel like I need. But then when you tell me go back to the village, meet Granny, Granny is going to tell me to go to the garden.
Okay, so this is interesting. So in order for culture to exist, there has to be hardship. Too much modern conveniences is not good for culture.
Kinda.
All right.
I think maintaining culture starts with you, the person. It starts with each and every one of us. We all have cultures we've seen growing up, and if we want to maintain these cultures, is we carry them on. You and your family should practice your culture the way you want to. Okay. But as you're practicing your culture, you should also remember that the world is going modern.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, we did ask if the African culture is being erased or being threatened by westernization. And the answer today is that culture is a process of giving and taking. But what I did hear as well is that Mwachamila Nimtumwa said in another way, he who leaves their culture is a slave. Thank you for watching.
There are also a lot of elements here that have to do with like healing, either from the chili peppers here that I see or different ointments as well. How exactly do you come about that?
Well, I know a lot of healers, and there was one old man, he was called Papa Ogunlula, and he had developed a skin cream made of shea butter and 3 different plants, and very, very good. It's for all sorts of dermatoses, eczema, and any skin problems.
What would the chili peppers be used for then from Benin?
Just for food.
Okay.
Spice the food a bit.
I thought there was like some herbal medicine behind it.
No, this is very, very good chili.
If you're sick in the Voodoo religion, it's either categorized with 2 things. It's a natural sickness and you need to go to a doctor, or it is something spiritual and you would need a traditional healer for that. That is where they also resort to natural remedies or even perform a ceremony for you. In northern Nigeria, for example, it is easier to find herbal medicine because it is not only trusted because of faith and tradition, but is also more accessible than conventional medicine. Now, my colleague Samson Adeleke went down on the ground in Kano State to find out why these practices are still common today. Have a look.
What do young people think about herbal medicine today?
In my religion, it is sunnah for you to even take herbal medicine.
Habatu sauda, the black seed, like the fenugreek, that's the wilba. Some of them are almost from the Islamic something.
Surprisingly, many young people are not abandoning it.
I had serious malaria. My mom, because she believed in it, a friend just came and said, okay, please just mix habatu sauda, tazalgadi and honey for him. So after the mixture with some medication, with some leaves, she boiled everything and added to me together, and I was okay.
I would not choose herbal medicine over conventional medicine, but then I use herbal medicine.
Some are using it, some are questioning it.
It's not that their medicine is not working, their medicine is working, but it needs a prescription. And for you to prescribe a medicine, it has to go on certain processes.
For generations, traditional medicine has remained part of healthcare across northern Nigeria. According to the World Health Organization, nearly 80% of Nigerians use traditional medicine. I am in Kano State, Nigeria, to better understand why this ancient practice still exists. So let's go to Kumi Market. Yeah, so you were born into this business and you've seen your parents doing it. Now, I want to know, what does it take to be an Islamic and traditional medicine practitioner?
Firstly, if a person wants to start this business, they are expected to inherit the practice or go to school to learn how to practice traditional herbal medicine. There are schools that provide education in Islamic medicine. They teach people how to gain medical knowledge and how to learn from people in the field. Like from us who have 20 years of experience or others who have more than 40 years of experience.
For many practitioners here, healing is not only physical, it is deeply connected to faith. Some Islamic healers use forms of prophetic medicine known as al-tib al-nabawi, including black seed, honey, and ijama, also known as cupping therapy. Now, for many patients, trust in the healer is closely tied to trust in religion.
I personally don't like hospitals, so this question, I prefer migraines, honestly. I don't like hospitals.
Okay. In this 21st century, we have a lot of hospitals. Why do you think Nigerians, 80%, of us still believe in herbal medicine?
Because our beloved Prophet Muhammad taught us about healing and medical knowledge and other related stuff. That is why we relate to these practices and have experience in them. And sometimes even getting medication, going to hospital, you may need to buy a hospital card, then they will write a prescription for you. They will take blood samples, all of that. You will spend a lot of money. But when a patient comes to us, from the way they explain their problems, such as back pain or any other illness, then we will prescribe medicine at a minimal cost.
But this growing industry also faces criticism. Medical experts warn about fake healers, wrong dosage, and dangerous claims.
There are also some dangers attached to, taking some of these herbal medicines, because some of them, they just know, okay, it's easy to get, it's in the forest, you can grow it and all of that. So they mix whatever they can, saying, okay, it's trees, nothing can go wrong, right? Yeah, but I just feel like there should be a regulatory body that would tell that these people are doing the right thing, they're putting out the right stuff out there,
In Kano's ancient markets, herbal medicine is more than just business. For some, it's culture and also. For others, it's faith. And for many families here, it remains one of the most accessible forms of healthcare. But as the younger generation step into this centuries-old practice, bigger questions remain. Who regulate it? Who protect patients? And lastly, can traditional medicine truly evolve alongside modern medicine? My name is Samson Adeleke. Keep following DW, the 77%.
As I walk through this museum, I'm reminded just how diverse African spiritual traditions are, and many communities use them to understand the world and their place in it. But how many traditions are there? My colleague SK went to explore that.
Christianity and Islam arrived in Africa long before colonialism, but before churches filled Africa's cities, before the call of prayers echoed from the mosques, who did Africans pray to? It's a question more young Africans are beginning to ask. Africa already had its own religions and spiritual traditions, and different societies had different beliefs. Among the Yoruba, there's Olodumare, the supreme creator, and the Orishas, or divine spirits like Shango, Oshun, and Ogun, linked to nature, power, and different aspects of life. In Ghana, the Akan people believe in Nyame, the supreme sky being. In Senegal, the Gambia, and Mauritania, the Sere people believe in Rog, the source of all life. Even throughout Zulu history, religion was deeply woven into every aspect of traditional Zulu life, from ceremonies and warfare to farming and personal milestones. Ancestors were believed to provide guidance and support and were honored through prayers and sacrificial offerings. And despite what many think, these belief systems never completely disappeared. They simply became less visible. Today, some people still practice them openly, while others preserve them through culture, festivals, and traditions. For many African societies, spirituality wasn't separate from everyday life. Nature, ancestors, and community were all deeply connected. The core belief is simple: you are part of something greater than yourself. But colonialism and missionary influence pushed many of these traditions to the margins. Christianity and Islam became the most dominant religions across much of Africa. Now, more young Africans are asking about the religions that existed before all of this. Not necessarily to reject modern religions, but to better understand where they come from. Because understanding your roots is also understanding yourself. So here's the question: should African traditional religion become part of Africa's identity today, or are they simply part of its past?
Ancestors play a big role in African tradition. For example, growing up in Namibia, I often saw this, where elders would go back to our ancestors and seek advice, because that was a reminder that even though they were not alive, they still held a lot of wisdom. And that's what we see in our next report. We meet two young South Africans who went back to ancestral healing and found a deeper sense of purpose and identity.
Here in Soweto, South Africa, traditional healing still holds meaning to many young people. We meet Zuko and Tumi. For both of them, it has become something deeply personal, a way of finding their place in the world.
There's no gender equality between boys and girls, because they will say, you're a girl, you're supposed to wash dishes, you must know how to cook.
Seeing this picture, I think that one day I could have a chance to see her again in a real motion.
Tumi has brought a young client to Kwezi, a spiritual site in Soweto. He is about to finish school and hopes his ancestors can help guide his next steps.
Something has to happen. If I don't pray, no communication is going to happen between me and them, right? So I want to learn how to take accountability first day on top and stop like procrastinating.
Stefan, do you hear those birds that are singing? Those are my ancestors. They go with me everywhere I go.
Tumi believes this place helps her connect Kwezi with his ancestors. On the other side of Soweto, Zuko helps prepare muti, a mixture of plant and animal ingredients used in traditional healing. He found his way here after losing direction as a teenager.
Grade 9, first year, grade 9. I failed because of the wrong cane that I was training. After school, when taking off the uniform, I don't wash it. I just leave it there, go outside and go smoke and go chill with the guys.
Zuko says drugs helped him avoid a deeper pain. His mother left when he was still a baby and never contacted him again.
I can't remember my mother's face. Not knowing her face means that I didn't have a mother. That's what makes me that I feel rejected on this world.
Tumi's journey began about 6 years ago with intense dreams and visions. In them, she encountered powerful women who were not told what to wear or how to behave.
The women in my dreams are very powerful because of they were prayer warriors. They used to heal using water. If they can make me sick, then that's how powerful they are. I woke up one day and decided that I'm going to do this journey with or without my parents' support or anybody's support.
Zuko started working as an aide to a traditional healer. He learned all about plants and traditional medicine. Around the same time, his dreams became more vivid. One dream, in particular, keeps returning.
I dreamed about my mother. Then she was calling me with a loud voice. I couldn't come to the top because there was some bad spirits and I didn't make it out to where my mother is.
For Zuko, traditional healing and these recurring dreams have become part of a deeply personal healing journey.
Even though you are alone, you are not alone. You are just with somebody else. You can see them by connecting by meditation. This picture is a gift from God. It reminds me where I come from. And that does not determine where I'm going.
I can endure any obstacles or challenges. That's what I've learned through this journey. I was a very fearful person. Literally didn't follow my gut. I would listen to my friends a lot. So now I can say I'm confident in my own skin. And I love who I am now.
For Zuko, traditional healing became a way of searching for the mother he never knew. For Tumi, becoming a healer was also a way of becoming the woman she wanted to be.
And voodoo is 85% is good, only 15% is bad. But the ones who practice the bad part, they're still part of voodoo.
There's always a conversation about when we see collections or artifacts like this in museums in Europe, instead of showcasing them on the continent, Is this something that you think that it is fair enough to have a museum that focuses on this kind of religions in Germany to kind of showcase them to the people so that they can learn? Or is it something that needs to be returned back?
That applies to old museums. A lot of the old museums, they collected before the 30s. It was colonial period. And yes, a lot of things were stolen there. But here, no. I'm too young for that. And I've been doing this for over 50 years. Some pieces I buy. Some pieces are given to me as presents. So, no, my collection is clean.
Walking into this museum, it has been very cool to learn how many religions are also involved in voodoo, whether it's Christianity or even Islam. But one key takeaway that I will definitely have is that voodoo religion is 85% healing and protection and 15% sorcery. So there is a big emphasis on restoring balance and also about just spiritual healing in general. Now tell us what you thought about the show. Reach out to us on our socials, that is DW77%. I am Okeri Ngutjinazo and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.